Welcome to the Fitness Business Freedom Show, where we're not just building businesses, we're building legacies. I'm your host, Justin Hanover, and I'm thrilled to have you join us for Season 4, 7-Figure Gym Stories. In this season, we're diving deep into the minds of successful 7-figure gym owners. We're pulling back the curtain, revealing the strategies, mindset shifts, and hard-earned lessons that propelled them to the top. Whether you're a seasoned gym owner or just starting out, you'll gain actionable insights to supercharge your business and create a life of freedom and fulfillment. So let's unlock the secrets to 7-figure success together. Tune into each episode and join the movement of fitness entrepreneurs who are making a difference.
Before we jump into today's episode, let's talk about what we do best at Fitness Revolution, building high-performing teams. Did you know that underperforming teams can cost your gym anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000 a year? That's leaving a lot on the table. To help you avoid this, we've created a free hiring scorecard. This tool will help you identify the best talent and build a team that drives revenue and loyalty. Head over to our show notes to grab a copy of our free scorecard today. Let's build a stronger team together. Now for today's episode, I'm excited to have Rick Opton with me. He's the owner of Loggerhead Fitness. Rick is an accomplished sales executive and business owner. He took over Loggerhead Fitness in 2000 and has continued to grow the business, earning numerous Best Clubs and Palm Beach awards. Rick is not afraid to step outside his comfort zone, which is no surprise. Loggerhead Fitness has become a well-known staple in the Palm Beach County area. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Rick.
Thank you, Justin. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure to have this conversation. So let's start first with giving our listeners some context as to what even brought you into the fitness space.
Great question. I'm sure everybody has a story to tell. But I think for me, it boils down to, some of us are born to be jocks and some are not. And I was one of those born to be a jock. I've just always wanted to move and play games and particularly enjoyed competition. Also, I really enjoyed learning and mastering physical skills, things that kind of, were impressive, hitting a golf ball and things that not the everyday person could do. So I was always drawn to that, and I still am drawn to that to this day. So that's kind of, what kind of guided me towards fitness, right? Towards the fitness industry. And I think it does. Everybody that's in this industry has got some sort of story around, working out and doing sports and so forth. But when you couple that with making money and helping people, well, the fitness space just became a natural fit for me because I also see myself as sort of an entrepreneur, a business owner. And so ultimately, I consider myself first and foremost a business owner. And I just happen to operate in the fitness space. And running a business in the fitness industry obviously is really it's a great marriage between the exercise that I enjoy and then, of course, just running a company. So I guess that's what got me here.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And it's definitely, again, one of the unique things about this industry in itself is it more than not has people that are filled with it that are passion driven first rather than being focused on like business only. Whereas like other industries, it's pretty much like you're going into it with the intention of building a business and building a great business, and that's it. Whereas the fitness space, yes, that's part of it, but it's also very much passion driven, and a lot of business owners, gym owners have that servant heart mentality, and they want to help people. They want to see people succeed. So that is definitely one of the unique things about this space. But as you said, it's about marrying it with the ability to actually produce and make money. I mean, we have to be able to obviously live and having a successful gym allows you to do that, but it also allows you to have a greater impact too. We don't want the starving artist mentality.
Yeah.
So that's great. So like, take us through like more specifically through your journey in like some of the milestones that you hit over time that were pivotal into like your growth or like where you are today.
Yeah. So it's kind of a career question, right? When I was graduating college, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. Actually, when I graduated high school, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And, I would tell my mom, I'm going to be a PE teacher. And she'd go, no way. We're not letting you go do higher education just to be a PE teacher. So you go to school, you learn stuff, but ultimately you get out of school and you got to go into the workforce and you start working and you start doing things. And believe it or not, it's funny. You talk about milestones that I hit. Well, here's one that I didn't hit. The biggest milestone probably for me was being fired from a job. And I
Yeah.
won't go into all the detail of it. And I didn't really do
Yeah.
anything wrong, but I was, let's just say that someone's head had to roll, and it trickled
Mm.
down to me. Um, and so, someone once told me that, all these stops that we make along our career, these stepping stones, they're just a conspiracy for your success. Because had I
Mm.
not been let go of that job, I would not have found the next opportunity that ultimately has led me to where I am today, which is a business owner, a husband, and a father. Because
Mm.
I got married from the next opportunity. I met someone, so that's really
Oh,
important, is to
yeah.
recognize that sometimes failure is really just a way to lead to success.
Mm.
So, the quick story, and I was doing technology sales when I got out of school, college, I should say. I was drawn to technology and sales as a young man. I'm 62 now, so this is in my 20s. And I did end up working for a software company that actually served the gym space. They sold software to gyms. And it was a small company. And they had developed some cutting edge software for checking members in and billing and so forth. And I went to work for them for 6 years and grew the company from like a dozen clients to over 300 clients. The product was called Club Runner. And I actually sold the Club Runner software to this physical location, this gym that I currently own today, 30
Really?
years ago, which is
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
Because I left
Yeah.
Club Runner a long time ago, worked for corporate America, sowed my oats in corporate America, you could say, and then later came back into the business. And I bought this gym in 2005. We still use Club Runner here today. So
Really? Oh,
kind of
wow.
strange that I'm still around this software that I've been, with my whole life. And
That's
trust
come
me,
full circle.
yeah, and it's time to change it out too. Trust me.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's rock solid and it's still working extremely well. It's just not browser based, and it's time to go modern, right?
Mm. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so that's kind of where we're at, and kind of what got me to these positions.
Oh, okay. It's now, how about any, actually, you've been obviously since ownership of Loggerhead since 2005. So what milestones maybe have you hit more specifically within Loggerhead that has, again, moving you in the direction that you want to move to, or even maybe it altered your direction of what you thought the path was for the business?
I mean, let's start with when I took over the gym, it was failing. There were
Mm.
not even 400 active members. Currently today, we have over 2,000. We have expanded the gym over time. We have added a very profitable personal training side of our business. We actually probably do more personal training in Palm Beach County than maybe any other fitness center. And that strictly is due to the demographic that we serve. And so
Mm.
it's important to point out that you kind of are what's around you.
Hmm.
And you have to be really hyper aware of what that 2.5, 3 mile radius is producing for you in terms of, people close by, memberships. Where we are
Mm.
located in a pocket, a corridor that's over a drawbridge up against the ocean, we are attracting people that are over 50. Many of them are over 60. So when 7 out of 10 of your members are over 50 years old, you have to sell them different things, treat them different ways. And we were successful at recognizing that early on and built a very robust personal training program. 18 personal
Mm.
trainers that operate out of here. We're very
Wow.
proud of that. We also have a Group X, group fitness room, about 2,400 square feet with 40 classes a week operating out of that. And again, same thing. We're dealing with a retired individual who can work out between 8 o'clock in the morning and noon. So we have
Mm.
plentiful classes during those peak times. And it's a robust program with 21 instructors that teach everything from daily yoga, Zumba, Pilates, body sculpting, cycling, everything. So we're running a very interesting business with multiple layers. We have a standalone, it could be almost a standalone group fitness program if you want to call it that. We run a personal training department. We run small group training classes, which is another program built around personal training up to 8 people at a time. And we run a gym, with regular members that come in and use cardio equipment. And so it's built into something that's gotten quite large. We didn't expect to break $1 million a year in business, but we've done better than 1.2. And it continues to, I wouldn't say we're thriving, but we're certainly surviving.
Mm.
Those are goals I'm very, very proud of. Probably the most important goal of all was just being voted best gym
Mm.
and basically number one public fitness center gym in Palm Beach County. There's a voting contest every year for the last 8 years, and we've won
Wow.
it. We've been a finalist 7 years in a row and won it 5 out of 7. And we're small. We're just this little boutique club. and yet, why do we win? Because when you treat people right, and they really like what the product is that they'll be
Mm.
loyal to you. They surround you. They'll do what you want them to do. And when you add to that being really good as a data monger, just tracking emails and phone numbers and texts and using the right technology. And we have an enormous email list, 6,000 names, 1,000 people on texting. And when we send out messaging, people respond, well beyond industry standards in terms of open rates and so forth. So that's what we have is loyal customers, tons of great reviews. So yes, very proud that we've built a really viable business. Unfortunately, it's just in a tough situation in that, we're kind of trapped on the other side of the bridge. We're not going to be able to expand unless I take on other locations.
Yeah, no, that does make sense, and you make a couple good points there. First thing I wanted to actually pull back on is the fact that obviously you took over a failing business. So how did that go? What did you You saw that it was failing, and what was your thought process behind that? I mean, what interested you about taking it over, knowing that it was not obviously thriving, and how did you have the confidence knowing that I can turn this around?
So I've owned the business for almost 20 years. I'm 62, so I was in my early 40s. By the time you're in your early 40s, you have experience, especially if you worked in corporate America too, which I had just come from. So I knew what good management was. I knew what good leadership was. I understood workflows and systems and marketing. And all I needed was just a platform to execute what I felt were good skills that I had. And I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So getting into the gym made sense to me. Sorry, I forgot the original on the question.
Well, what was the interest of taking over something that was failing?
So when I came in, so the previous owner of the gym, I actually kind of knew him personally, and he was just totally misrunning the place. I was doing some consulting work for him, and in the end, I just felt just do the right thing. Just go in and keep it clean, have employees open on time, bill people the right amount every month, and you can do 10 times better than this guy's doing. And that's what I did. It took time, but yeah, we absolutely turned it around. And it's just good customer service. I mean, in the end is you do when you go to work out, you want to work out in a gym that has equipment that's not out of order, that have nice people that smile at you at the front desk, that don't misbill you. So, we just did the normal, proper things that you do running a business, and it paid off.
That makes complete sense. I mean, it's sad that good customer service is a differentiator, but it is. I mean, there's so many businesses that they just unfortunately, or fortunately, for them, they're just so cash flow positive that they can make mistakes like that and swipe, or in some cases not, obviously, but. In particularly around the acquisition, I was just curious for people that may be listening or looking to maybe acquire or expand through acquisition themselves. Is there any tips that you can have or share around that of how you actually went about negotiating a situation like that? Because there definitely could be a lot of opportunity for gyms out there to quickly expand through acquisition.
Yeah, buying and selling gyms, acquiring the business. Every one of those situations is going to be different. Right? Because there's all kinds of variables, there's all kinds of personalities and people and emotions, and it is an emotional thing in the end. I know I could have done a better job at negotiating my purchase in 2005. When I play it back and I think about what happened, I realized that I bought on emotion. I wanted it so bad. I wanted to be that business owner. I was willing to overpay. But really what you have to do is be logical. You have to be really good with a spreadsheet. As good as I am with Excel, and I am good, you need other people to look at that spreadsheet. You need trusted advisors. You don't just buy it because you're just in love with it. You can always negotiate these deals. The business has a worth. It has a valuation. Get it professionally, valued. And then you can start with those numbers and negotiate with whoever you're buying it from. We all know there are buyers that doesn't matter. This is what they want. They're gonna pay the dollar. They want it, and maybe that's what I was back then. But I've learned a lot from that, and that's a very big learning lesson. I call it my MBA because the amount of extra money I spent and the amount of extra years it took me to get fully, neutral buoyant, as they say, that cost money. That was personal cost to me. I could also spend that money and go to business school and get a master's in business administration. I got it. Yeah. I got it firsthand right on the street.
Yeah, that's true. One way or another, you're spending it. And most importantly, it's just the outcome, obviously, that you get from it. And I agree with your thought process there. I'd rather spend it in a way where it's you have actually have an asset to show for it than have to still go out and still build something. So yeah, I appreciate you kind of sharing behind the curtain there a little bit of how that went for you. And I love that you hit on the fact that, I mean, obviously they're local businesses, I mean, especially brick and mortar businesses, you have to know your local area. Like you can't try to force a desire into your local area if it's just not going to fit. And I'm curious if you can speak on that a little bit in terms of like, I mean, was there any process behind that of helping you uncover your demographic? Like what went into like understanding your local market better?
I mean, it starts with just, looking around the gym and seeing what your members look like. How old are they? Men, women, so you can get a good idea of your demo just from that. Of course, it's not hard to just, do your own research and study it and drive around your neighborhoods, go out 2-3 mile radius in every direction, northwest, southeast, and see where you land and who's around and what those people are. What I can tell you is if you're not careful with it, you make a big mistake. You'll fail, actually, because you can't be a CrossFit gym when you're in a community that's surrounded with 65 and 70-year-olds. And vice versa. You're not going to attract young people if you're not in a young person's area. So really, I'd say that's the most important thing, is just be aware of the geography, especially if you're new and you're coming into a new area and you're buying a gym or you're buying a location and you haven't lived there for 10 or 15 years, and you come in and what you see looks really cool. But then when you get there, you're like, oh, wow, I didn't really realize that this is where I am right now. Those are mistakes that can be made. Just not knowing your own geography. I've lived here in Florida, in the city I lived for 30 years. I mean, I know every nook and cranny. So yeah, we learned. We learned, and we now know how to market very, very well to our demographic. And it is older. It is definitely we call it an insurance-based demographic. Insurance-based because nowadays, if you run in a gym, you probably have the Silver Sneakers program or Renew Active. There's 4 or 5 other programs. Actually, we have them all. And we have a ton of experience dealing with the insurance-based demographic, which is 65 and older, right? They're on Medicare. And half our visits last month. That's incredible. Out of we're small. We had maybe 7,800, 8,000 visits last month, something like that. Half of them were 65 and older, meaning we had to get paid by the visit. So we have to be very diligent at our front desk, checking people in, making sure that barcode beeps, right? Because that's tracking a date and a time, and we will submit that for reimbursement at some point. So if you're going to be in this demo, the older demo, and have insurance programs, you really have to put effort into it to manage it and also to upsell, because you're not going to make money on memberships. And in general, you don't. I mean, most gyms aren't making money on a $40 a month membership.
No, yeah.
I mean, our rent is $20,000 a month. I mean, think how many members it takes just to do rent. So what we're doing is we're upselling personal training, right? What does a 65-year-old need? They need to prevent chronic disease from creeping up. They probably need to lose weight. They probably have all kinds of physical issues going on in their body, and they don't know how to work out. And so they are a perfect candidate for meeting a trainer and eventually going on some sort of training package. And that's why we thrive so well in that department.
No, it makes complete sense. I know we were talking about that a little bit, obviously, before we started recording, and that's kind of been your focus this year, with dealing more of those insurance payments than what you usually have in the past. So can you go a little bit into, I guess, you mentioned obviously having to pivot and adjust. So you're obviously, I take it from what you just said there, you're increasing your heightened focus on obviously upsell around the higher end services. Has that changed your your onboarding or sales flow with these people, or when are you, or how are you introducing this into them?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, first off, let's just kind of look at the whole insurance paradox, right? You've got a person who no longer needs to pay the gym any money, technically, to join. We have a $100 enrollment fee. Can't collect it. The agreement with the insurance companies say we can't do that. We even have an annual fee that we charge. Every year we charge members in January a maintenance fee. We call it an uplift fee, and we get it. And but if you're insurance, we don't have your credit card on file. We're not going to get that fee either. So what do we get? We get a reimbursement per visit, and it's not great. $3.50, maybe $3.80, $3.80, maybe $3. So you're getting about $30 a month from somebody if they come the allotted amount of times that you get reimbursed for, because you don't get reimbursed for every visit. They cap you at 8 visits to 10 visits. The member can come to 30 times in a month, but we get 8 to 10 visits depending on the program. So think about how that has changed and evolved, right? This industry started out as a recurring dues industry, right? I charge you $30. if you come once, twice, 10 times, or no times, I get $30. Predictable revenue stream. Well, now that's completely upside down for us, especially when half your visits come from insurance members. Right? Because I only get paid when they show up. And I don't know if they're going to show up. And I also don't know how many times in the month they're going to show up. So, and not everybody comes 10 times, so I can't even get to the max. So we are seeing very low membership dues coming from the insurance market. So then why do I do it? I'll tell you why. Because last month we had 25 new people join the gym. Never had been a member here before. They walked in. I had no acquisition costs, didn't spend any money marketing to them. There's no commissions to pay a salesperson. They come in, they all have issues. We get them set up with a trainer. A third of them buy training packages. That's new memberships. I mean, what small boutique gym wouldn't love to have 20 brand new members joining their gym a month? And it's hard enough to get them to get 20 when you're spending all the money on marketing. So we see the glass half full. We also see it half empty. So you have to kind of say, all right, if you can't beat them, let's join them. So let's start to cater towards them more, introduce them to the add-ons. By the way, the insurance program typically covers a basic gym membership. It does not include your group fitness classes. And so we can charge extra for that, and we do. And so we have content Group X classes that are built more for a 60, 70-year-old. And as soon as they want to do one yoga class, they got to join, pay us $40 extra a month for that. So we are having to work harder on the sales side to upsell on classes, personal training, small group training, and we have an abundance of prospects, if you want to call it that have just joined our gym that we can sell to. So we look at that as a very positive thing. The biggest problem I have is the reimbursement rates are too low, especially for a gym that has 50% market penetration of insurance-based members. So we should be treated a little better because we're serving more and we're doing it at a high level. So we like to get that fee up. But the killer is the maintenance fee, right? Once a year, we charge our members $50 for an annual maintenance fee. I have 700 insurance-based members. They're not going to pay that fee, but they're in using the gym just like another member is, right? They should. Yeah. Well, we got creative. We actually reached out to them with a direct mail drive, sent out letters, wrote a really nice letter, 16-point font, so they could read it. One page.
Knowing your demographic.
And we just basically said, we appealed to their good senses. And we said, look, we know you like working out at the gym, but guess what? We're not allowed to charge you a fee for the maintenance that we desperately need to uplift the gym, to buy new equipment, to maintain the infrastructure. So it's a voluntary, it's voluntary fee. If you want to pay it, we'd welcome it and we'd appreciate it. And here's why we think you should, but you don't have to. And we sent out 700 letters, and I only expected maybe 30 or 40 people to respond, but we had 150 people send us money, and that was last year. So that's what you have to do when you're in this market. You have to get creative. You got to find ways to just get them to spend more. And certainly, if they like what you're doing, they'll step up to the plate, and they've shown that. So we appreciate that.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's amazing to have that type of response. And again, it goes back to the testament of obviously full understanding your demographic, and it comes around to how you talk to them, how you interact with them, the experience that you're providing there. I mean, obviously you did it in a way that they respected enough to obviously have that type of response back to you, versus like, say, if you're addressing someone like a younger demographic, like if there's not an alignment there, then obviously you're not going to get the outcome that you want. It's a similar situation to where like walking through like a gym owner through like a price increase. Like if you don't roll it out in a thoughtful way, then like you're backlash.
I mean, here's an example. If I'm going to charge you $55 for an uplift fee, you might question and go, well, what are you buying with that? Like, what are you doing with that? So our response is this. Well, we're going to spend $30,000 because we're going to collect that much, and we're going to put it right back in the facility. I take pictures of everything we do that we spend uplift fee money. I make a web page. I put it on the website. People can go look and see what we did with their uplift fee money. But more importantly, it's just a simple statement to them to say, look, it's $55 for you, but you're going to get a $30,000 ROI from that investment. And they see it and they get it and they don't beef about it. So very important, but getting it from your insurance-based members was critical, because that was a whole segment. We that's $9,000 of uplift fee money we collected last year just by sending out a letter. And so now we learned from that. That was the first year I did that. So we learned that we have to do that now every year.
Wow. Yeah. What made you guys think to start doing that?
I was mad.
That's motivation.
I was angry. I was like,
Yeah.
this isn't fair. I have people coming in here 5 times a week, using the
Mm,
equipment. Why shouldn't they be contributing to the uplift of the facility
mm,
any different than a member who's paying me $50 a month? I just felt that there was a fairness thing.
mm.
So after getting a little angry over it, I said, okay, well, let's write a really good letter and explain that in a way that people understand. And it worked. We're looking forward. I mean, our uplift billing is happening in 2 weeks, so we're getting ready to do it again.
Mm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, and you're doing it again through the same process of like mailing letters.
Yeah, make
Have
it
you?
easy for you got to make it easy
Yeah,
for them to pay too, right? And some of these
yeah.
people were coming in and literally giving us cash or dropping a check to us. Some would pay
Uh-huh.
online, so you give them all opportunities to pay, and they did.
Wow,
And
that's awesome.
one other little touch we did is we sent them a thank you letter, and the thank
Mm,
you letter was a free pass to use the gym as well. Because a lot of these folks who are visiting that are seasonal have kids, grandkids, people, family members that come visit them, and they're always
mm.
asking us for passes. So
Oh
we're
yeah.
like, well, hey, you paid your uplift fee. Here's a free $17 guest pass. Give it to a family member. So that was nice. They like that too.
Yeah, no, that's an easy add-on there to add value, and that's all it's about is obviously like increasing the perceived value, and that's where you get the buy-in. And so I mean that's awesome that you guys are like it seems like obviously you're that in tune with the people that you're working with, so that you know what they value, what they appreciate, and how to treat them well. And like you said at the beginning of this conversation, it's like just caring, like and following through with what you say you're going to do. I think that's the big thing, especially with your uplift fee. It isn't just the front; like you are actually following through with what you say you're going to do. So like that builds good equity and trust in the business. And ultimately, like once people like lose even a little bit of trust, good luck trying to keep them bought in. It's just not going to happen. So I mean, that in itself is just an underrated business strategy in the sense of like it's like just being a good person and
Isn't
following
it
through
simple
with what
though?
you're
I mean,
doing. Yeah.
it's ridiculously simple. It's like we try to overcomplicate this. Just it's
Yeah.
the commandment, right? Do unto others as you'd like done unto you. And
Yeah.
so you just be good to people. That's all, and usually good things come back to you.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's just people want to be around good people, so it makes sense. Now, I'm curious more, like specifically, like with your role itself, like how has that shifted, and like what does like a day in the life of like Rick look like today, and how you operate and what you choose to focus on?
I kid around with people when they ask me this question because my answer is I only work a half day. And
Yeah,
it's true, I do. I work 12 hours a day. I just pick which 12 hours I'm going to work. So I think if you talk to any business owner, they'll tell you the exact same thing. Yeah, we bust our
yeah,
ass. It's a work of passion, love. I'm the buck stops with me, so I am the owner. I am also the general manager. I have worked long enough and hard enough to reach a point where I don't have to work in my business anymore. I don't have to work a scheduled shift.
mm,
I'm a backstop, yeah, in case someone can't make it in or someone's on vacation, I could certainly come in, but I'm not scheduled. I'm not on the schedule. And
mm,
that gives me the freedom to do what I have now grown into here at this stage of my life, which is leadership role, right? We've got
mm,
53 employees, 18 personal trainers, 10 people on staff. They need direction. They need vision, a goal.
mm,
They want to make money. I want to show them how to do that. They need training. So my role is really just more just building people and training them. I'm very good with my numbers, and so data. I'm always got my hands on the operations side, and I'm watching it. But no, I don't have a lot of free time. I mean, I work Sundays to catch up. I mean, there's a
mm,
6 hour shift at my home office just to catch up on emails and activities that I needed to do. So very, very busy. Always looking to do things all the time, want to be creative, everything from marketing, social media, digital marketing, all the way to facility, uplift work. I mean, I'm always working on stuff. In terms of the gym running itself, I do have one other full-time employee that works here. One out of 54 is
mm,
full-time, and that's my assistant manager. And that person is critical. And if they're doing their job well, then I'm able to step away. If they're not, I step back in and got to go hire somebody who can do that.
mm.
So it's critical to have a good team. And when you have the right team in place, trained and being productive, you're able to step away. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. So with your team structure, um, I guess like what's the thought behind only having like the one full time and all part-time employees? Like, how is that? Because I know some gym owners can struggle with having part-time employees bought in, and really contributing. So I guess like how have you kind of like overcome that?
Well, remember now, we're small. We're like 9,200 square feet. That's pretty small. We're not a big 20,000, 30,000 big box
Mm,
retail kind of environment. And those environments tend to attract employees that are less passionate, are just there to get paid, they don't get as much
mm,
training or attention. But where we are, it's way different. We're much more intimate. This is a family. When you work at Loggerhead Fitness, everybody gets to know everybody, including what you do, the drama in your life, all those things. So it's so critical to hire the right people
mm,
and then train them. That's how we operate. I don't need more than one full-time employee. We're that small. I have
mm,
multiple front desk staff that help out and do overlap shifts. So we at least have two people on when we need it most during the mid morning. But normally it's kind of a lazy place, and you can get away with one employee closing in the afternoons on the weekends. So the full timer is really the person that works during the main part of the week, so that I don't have to be in working those shifts. And so that
mm.
requires a full-time person, but they're doing a lot, and I'm asking them to do a lot. So it's a great role. People learn a lot being our assistant manager, from how to sell personal training, manage
Mm.
trainers, selling everything, dealing with facility issues. I mean, you're basically an assistant general manager at that point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So is that how you have your structure set up, where that assistant is selling is doing the bulk of the selling, and not like personal trainers or anything like that?
Yeah, we're fortunate to have a kind of a cool little system here. I want my trainers training. They do sell, but our personal training department, we're matchmakers. So
Mm,
since everyone who walks into our gym is going to meet somebody at the front desk, and particularly we'll call him my assistant manager, because most of them come during the 7 a.m. to 3:30 time slot during the day, and that's when he
mm,
works. He'll meet them, and he gets to understand their personalities and what they're looking for, and he knows all of our trainers extremely well, and so he matchmakes. He says, I think based on the time of day and that you want to train with a male instead of a female, I'm going to put you with Ashley, or I'm going to put you with someone else. And so we
mm,
have a whole system and a workflow that gets the information to the trainer. The trainer then is been trained to follow up with this prospect very quickly, book an
mm,
orientation. There's all kinds of, just they have to fill out some forms and do some things. So we're tracking it all. It's not
mm,
something that's left for chance. This is a high-end sales process that we have. And then once the trainer meets with the prospect and does an orientation, that's when they have an opportunity to sell them some training. And so yes,
okay.
trainers here do need to learn how to sell their own packages. They don't
Mm,
necessarily have to write them up. They can come to the desk and
mm,
say, Mr. Jones here needs a 10-pack. We just agreed. Can you take care of
mm,
that for me? And we will do all that work. And the trainers get a commission for it. And so long as they
mm.
own the client and keep training them, they continue to get those commissions if there's renewals. So trainers are paid well here. They make commissions. There's fun contests that we have. And my one full-time employee's job is really to kind of keep an eye on all that. We're just
Mm,
that small and slow that we don't need to have multiple assistant managers or things like that. Um,
mm. No, it makes sense.
kind of
Oh,
how
okay.
we run it there. And as far as the
Yeah.
other employees part time, I've got 21 fitness instructors. No one teaches more than 3 classes a week here. So when you have
Oh,
40
okay.
classes, you need a bunch of instructors to teach them,
Yeah.
yoga instructors, cycling. So they're teaching a class here and there. They get paid transactional. And then we have the 18 trainers. So they're all part time. Not all my trainers are full time. Some are part time.
Oh,
Some are busier than others. They get paid to
mm,
train. When they're here, they train people. They get paid. And then you have your staff, that operates at the desk, which I would encourage. If you're just gonna have one person, you put all your marbles in one basket here. I'd be careful with that, because if that one person goes away, you're stuck having to come in and fill shifts. If you have multiple
mm,
people who can work flexible shifts, then it's really easy. We just let them figure it out. Like there's six or
mm.
seven of them, and I say, well, if you can't work a shift, then you get somebody for you. I'm not going to do that. That's your
Yeah.
responsibility. And so the schedule kind of self-maintains, and everyone's responsible adult. And so I've got a pretty easy situation in terms of scheduling and keeping everybody in place.
That's beautiful. That's a good thing. That all goes into obviously building a business that's enjoyable to run, and not something that feels like a prison. So I mean that's great, and I appreciate you sharing that as well. And that's really the point of obviously these conversations, to really kind of peel back and expose like how are business and gym owners maybe further ahead in the journey running and operating, so that those listening can pull these little nuggets out and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Let me look at that myself. So as we kind of work towards wrapping up the conversation, I always like to kind of end with maybe some like core pieces of advice that you see that are like I don't know, foundational to someone excelling either in their career, if they're in like maybe on more the corporate side of fitness, or if they're a business owner, small business owner themselves? Like, what would you say, like, if they were to only listen to this part of the podcast, what would be like the 1 to 3 like foundational pieces of advice that you'd want to share with them?
Well, if you're just getting started, you got to be fully committed to it. You can't half-ass it. You've got to be a presence in front of your employees. You've got to be doing everything. So be committed. But here's the thing. When you get that committed and you're working that hard, sometimes you get blinded and you don't see things that you should normally see. And I know it happened to me. So if you're a small business owner, you're going to need perspective. And don't underestimate that. And you get this from having what I call trusted advisors, right? Even a business mentor. They're out there. You should find one. And the reason is because if you're married, I can tell you right now, your spouse doesn't want to hear all these issues when you come home. They're working too, true. And so they don't want to hear all your problems. So you don't have anyone to talk to. You get a little lonely. And so second of all, you also can get trapped in the 4 walls of your retail business. And that's not good either, because you need to get out of those 4 walls. You have to build partnerships and relationships and be a part of your community. So you need to go out and network. And to me, that, you can join your chamber and go to those big events. That's one way to go. But I went a little more exclusive. I started in a business networking group that meets weekly. It's structured. It's an hour and 15 minutes, and there's 20 business professionals. And the reason I go there is because I'm a business professional. I want to keep my skills around people sharp instead of just being in a gym all day long. So there's lots of benefits to just getting out and being around business professionals. But it's a structured group, and it's a small investment. Usually they're not much, like $500 to join a group. I've yielded a huge ROI, including some really long-lasting relationships. I've been in a business networking group for going on almost 18 years, same group. And many people in that group have been there for 10 years or longer. So that has been a real important part of my growth. I met vendors I do business with at these groups. So I'm around my IT guy, I'm around my insurance guy, I'm around my cleaner. And so when you're at a group like that every week, you get to do a little business, right? Plus you're getting referrals. People are joining my gym. I'm giving them referrals. I'm telling you, I think that's critical. Perspective, get out of the 4 walls of your business, and always be networking. And by the way, if your business should fail, and we don't all succeed, with all that networking you're doing, you're going to land just fine, because you're going to have made a connection with somebody that probably can help you with a career change. So that was the advice I was given as a young man. I would say absolutely to do those things.
I appreciate that. And that's very, very, very sound advice. And I think definitely some areas that are often overlooked. Because they could be, I guess, in this business age, like not as appealing or sexy as what is thrown in our face constantly and what a business should look like. And a lot of times it's remembering at core. I mean, like, business is, it's people. It's people make a business. If there's no people, then there's no business. And part of like what you're talking about there, obviously, is realizing that and stepping into that and having those networking abilities and those connections that you're able to establish. We saw it over and over again. Obviously, going through a situation like COVID, the ones that understood that are the ones that did better than the ones that tried to hide behind the computer all day long and not really actually build relationships with people. So, I mean, there definitely is there's a lot of truth in that. So I appreciate you sharing that, Rick, and more, obviously, I appreciate your time today to be able to come on here and share a little snippet of your journey and behind the curtain of, like, obviously how you've gotten to where you are, and kind of things that you've been focusing on, obviously, and helping those listen that, like I said before, can pull out some pieces of it and help kind of put together their puzzle as they move forward in their journey. So thank you so much for your time today.
Justin, it was a pleasure. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And for those listening, I mean, don't forget to head over to our show notes. You can grab a copy of our hiring scorecard there. Otherwise, we will see you on the next episode of the Fitness Business Freedom Show.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and were able to pull out insights to apply to your own business. If you found this episode valuable, please show your support by leaving a review and sharing it with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insightful conversations with top industry leaders. Then be sure to jump into the show notes to get access to our hiring scorecard to build high-performing teams that translates into a thriving gym. See you on the next episode of the Fitness Business Freedom Show, where we'll be diving deeper into the strategies and mindset of another 7-figure gym owner. Until then, keep crushing your goals.